Hey friends, it's Wilk, and before we get started with this week's episode, I want to mention a couple things real quick about a couple affiliates. Affiliates help me keep the show going, and by you using the services of one of our affiliates, I get a little kickback at no extra cost to you. So if you've ever thought about starting a podcast, Buzzsprout is a great place to start. They have some phenomenal tools, and starting a podcast is a lot easier when you've got the right tools. So join over 100,000 other people who've started a podcast with Buzzsprout, and if you click the link to them in our show notes, I'll get a little bit of something for every paid membership. So I would really appreciate that. Helps a lot to support the show. Also, online grocery shopping, it's a big thing right now, especially with the pandemic and the lockdowns and people, being sketchy about going out in the public. If you want to do some grocery shopping at home in a quick, convenient way and have that stuff delivered to your house, check out Instacart. Instacart is a phenomenal way for people to buy groceries online and have them conveniently delivered to their house. So, again, in our show notes, check out one of the banner ads, check out the links. Instacart is a great way to do a little bit of online grocery shopping and have it conveniently delivered to your house. So with that, we're going to dive right into the show. Welcome back, my friends, to the Derate to Hate podcast. I'm Wilk from wilksworld.com, and this is going to be episode 26 of the DerateToHate.com podcast. And today we're going to talk about tribalism. Chaos and degradation through tribalism is going to be the episode 26. And the reason I bring this up today is because, obviously right now we're in the second week of October. We're in one of the most contentious election years in any of our lifetimes, at least anybody that's listening to this in modern times. I mean, maybe somebody will listen to this way down the road, and that's kind of cool. But in modern times, all of us that are alive listening to this right now have to admit that we are living in some of the most contentious times amongst Americans that any of us will ever see in our lifetime. Now, I've said a lot of times before that I don't want the Derate the Hate podcast to be political, and I don't. But this is all about people. It's all about our attitudes. It's all about how we can better ourselves. And the tribalism and the degradation and chaos that's coming out of that tribalism is a very big part of bettering ourselves, or the worsening of ourselves. And it's got to be called out. Episode 26, Chaos and Degradation Through Tribalism. First question I want to ask, a couple questions that I ask every week. What have you done today to make the world a better place? What have you done today to make your life a better life? It's up to us as individuals to make our lives what we want them to be. And what I'm seeing today is something unlike anything I've seen in my adult life. And I don't know, I've really been trying to figure out, I don't know if it's because as I've gotten older and the people that I spend more time around spend more time paying attention to politics, or if politics has just become this thing that has been weeding itself into everybody's lives far more than it has, in my lifetime. But I can tell you one thing, it's not good. I talked about back in, I think it was episode 19 of our podcast, about political theater being the real hate speech. And even before that, in episode 18, called Labels, Get Out of the Box, where people are trying to put everybody, whether it be dividing us up by class or race or gender or whatever the case may be. We have to get away from that situation where we're always being labeled, where we're always being put in this box, based on some predefined notion of who we are because of whether we be male, female, black, white, whatever, any person of color. We have to get away from that. If people haven't started to figure it out by now, they better start figuring it out pretty soon, because once you come to the realization that most politicians and people in the media have a vested interest in keeping us divided, keeping us scared, keeping us mad. Once you come to that realization that those people really don't have our best interest in the front of their hearts and minds, they really have a strong desire and a vested interest in keeping us divided, and keeping us divided by playing upon our emotions. Anybody who's listened to this podcast for any amount of time, or read some of the stuff that I've written over the course of my life, has to probably picked up on the idea that allowing our emotions to dictate our actions seldom ends up with the intended results. Seldom ends up doing what we want it to do. Politicians and those in the mainstream media have that vested interest in keeping us mad, keeping us scared, keeping us divided by playing upon our emotions. And what it's done is it's starting to drive a serious wedge between us and our neighbors, between us and our parents, between us and our children. It's driving this wedge unlike anything I've ever seen in my entire life, between people who have cared about each other, and it turns my stomach. It's so unbelievably sad. And the Derate to Hate podcast, again, is all about bettering the world one attitude at a time. And like I said, I've said it before, I'd be remiss without bringing up the fact that we cannot allow people that we have never met to play upon our emotions. We can't allow people to jack us up in a way that we become so spun up that we disavow our parents because of what the media has said about some politician, or because of what some politician said that they're gonna do, or something they said in some video, a long time ago. The reality is these people, if you really look at the founding of our country, most of what we're seeing nowadays is not the way that it was intended to be, and most of what we're seeing now is all theater. It's all theater, just like we talked about before, political theater. But the reality of it is and I talked about perception being reality in another episode. I think it was 21 or 22. We look at this stuff on the news, and we see these clips, and we see these snippets on the dumpster fire that is social media, and these snippets are driving people crazy, and this hatred starts to be the pervasive thing upon us, and we start to project that on other people. We can't do that, because again, all it's doing, it's tribalism. I'm in this group because I believe this, and you're in that group because you believe that, and I'm going to hate you because you're in that group, and you're going to hate me because I believe this, and now I'm in this group. And that tribalism, that's obviously the way that human beings started. We started in these little tribes that we just, and we see the worst part of our country is gangs, and that's exactly what gangs are. Is they have some beef with another gang because of something that started a long time ago, and now it's not about me really hating you, it's about my gang hating your gang, so now I have to hate you. That tribalism is going to be the downfall of us all if we don't get a handle on it. And like I said, if you really look at these politicians, and you really look at those in the mainstream media, they have that vested interest. They don't care about you and how you get along with your neighbor. They don't care about you and your relationship with your parents. You have to care about you and your relationship with your neighbor. You have to care about you and your relationship with your parents. Because if you don't make that relationship good, nobody's going to do it for you. And quite honestly, like I said, they have that vested interest. They're out to sell soap. They're out to make money. The real divide in this country is not between Republicans and Democrats. It's not between whites and people of color. It's not between people from the United States and people from any one of any other hundreds some countries. The real divide is between people who want power and people who just want to live their lives. People who have a bunch of money and people who don't have a lot of money. People are rich, people are poor. That's the real divide. But you know what? That doesn't even have to be a tribalistic deal. Because I'll tell you something. I grew up very poor. I did. I grew up poor. I spent the majority of my life poor, but I spent the majority of my life working my butt off to make sure that I didn't stay poor. And in the United States, you don't have to. You can work your butt off and you can build yourself up. Like no other place in the world, you can build yourself up into something like the likes of which most people would never even imagine. But the reality of it is it's up to you. It's always up to you to make that happen. It's not up to anybody else. I didn't grow up believing that because somebody was rich, that was the reason I was poor. I grew up believing that circumstances were what they were, and it was up to me to make circumstances better. And that's exactly what I've done. Nobody in the United States of America that puts forth the effort that I've put forth can't have and accomplish what I've accomplished. Yes, there's going to be people that are smarter than others. There's going to be people that have got more talent than others. There's going to be natural roadblocks that get in everybody's way. And okay, that's just going to be part of life. But don't believe for a second that some politician is going to make it better for you. And don't believe that some narrative spun up by some news network or some commentary from somebody when they're trying to spin up your emotions. Don't believe that that's somehow going to give you a leg up or going to make things better for you, because they are not trying to make things better. They are literally trying to spin up your emotions to their end goal, not yours. So you really have to think about things. And like I said, once you realize that politicians, or most politicians, and most in the media have a vested interest in keeping us all divided and keeping us mad, angry, scared, that's when things become a lot more clear. But ultimately, as I've said so many times in this podcast, it is up to you to make your life better. It is up to you to make the world a better place by doing the things as an individual that can make the world a better place. Don't believe all that garbage on on social media. Everybody's trying to get everybody spun up these days. We got one of the most contentious elections of a lifetime coming up. The candidates couldn't be more opposite. But don't let your choice of a candidate put you in some tribe or some group or some box that you can no longer be friends with your neighbor, or you're no longer going to talk to your parents, or or you're going to hate your childhood best friend or whatever. It's a politician you're never going to meet. And based on the founding of this country and the concepts of individual liberty, the reality is the president shouldn't have that big of an influence on your individual life. Whoever the next Supreme Court justice is should not have that big of an interest in your individual life. I don't care if it's one of the major news networks, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. Those jokers on those networks should not have that big of an influence on your life. Go sit down at a bonfire and talk to your neighbor. And don't talk about politics. Talk about what neighbors want to talk about. Be kind to one another. There's no reason to interject politics into every conversation. There's no reason to interject, the national news into everything that's going on with you. Enjoy your life. Be nice. Be kind to one another. Talk about what people talked about for decades before everybody had to get all spun up with what's going on in the national news. This country survived for 200 and some years without everybody having to interject a comment from the president or something into every conversation. It's not necessary. And like I said, it doesn't matter to them. The only thing that matters to the politicians and those in the media is that you are scared, you're mad, you're going to tune in to see what they're selling next, because that is how they sell the soap. That is how they make their money. That's how they stay rich. That's how they stay in power. And the reality of it is it's not real life for most people. Most people just want to pay the bills, go to work, come home, sit down, crack a cold beer, enjoy their conversation with their wife, enjoy the conversation over a bonfire with their neighbor in the cul-de-sac. That's what it's about. Not all this tribalism and chaos and degradation that's being spun up by politicians and the media. So, anyways, this one's a little bit more impassioned than a few, but I just see a lot going on nowadays that really, really bugs me, and I want you guys to realize that's not what it's all about. What it's all about is being kind to one another. Be grateful for everything that you've got, like I say at the end of every episode. So, anyways, with that, I'm going to jump into our feel-good story this week. This feel-good story is something I came across, is actually something that my wife brought to my attention. It's a story about a youngster out of Chicago, Illinois. Now, this young man is doing absolute awesome things. He has gotten some national attention, and I got that from researching it, but it was actually an article in a magazine that, like I said, that my wife showed me. This kid's name is Shaquille Jackson. I mean, I'm probably butchering that name. I don't know. But I'm reading it as Shaquille Jackson. He's a 12-year-old youngster out of Chicago, Illinois, that started the Project I Am deal, where he puts together these baskets, or actually bags. He calls them blessing bags. But this young man has put together these blessing bags, and he's organized. It's a 501c3 now. It's a full-fledged charitable organization. He started it when he was 8 years old. Can you believe that? 8 years old, this young man, and now he's 12 years old, and he's helped over 50,000 men, women, and children across the world through his efforts. And he puts these blessing bags together. They they're manufactured donated items like toothpaste and toothbrushes and stuff for homeless people, and he's done stuff not only in different cities all around the United States, but in different countries that have been involved in natural disasters and things like that, volcanoes or hurricanes and things like that. These blessing bags have gone all over the world thanks to the inspiration and the efforts of this young man, Shaquille Jackson, out of Chicago, Illinois. He's only 12 years old right now. Can you imagine that? 12 years old, making that kind of an impact on the world. This young man is going places. He's going places. He's doing great things, and it is an absolutely beautiful story. I'm gonna put some information about Shaquille Jackson and the Project I Am 501c3 in the show notes. Don't miss it. Check it out. Do me a favor. Share that story. Even if you don't share anything about the Derate the Hate podcast, share the Project I Am link and share Shaquille Jackson's story, because this young man is definitely doing great things. I love it when ordinary people do extraordinary things, and this young man is doing a lot of extraordinary things for people. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up for this week. This has been episode 26. don't fall into the chaos and degradation of tribalism. Get out there. Be kind to one another. Be grateful for everything that you've got. And remember, it's up to you to make each and every day the day that you want it to be. So with that, I'm going to say this is Wilk for wilksworld.com. We greatly appreciate all the support. We're going to back on out of here. We'll catch you next week.